Hey guys, welcome to the Blue Collar Revolution podcast. Today we'll be talking to Stan Sherwin, aka SS Custom Welding. Let's get after it. All right, so what's your name? What's your handle there, bud?
All right, my name is Stan Sherwin, and my handle is SS underscore custom underscore welding. SS custom welding.
Awesome, man. Where are you out of?
Well, I mean, right now I'm in South Florida, but originally I'm out of New Jersey, South Jersey.
Yeah, how long you been down in Florida?
March 8th, 2015, I came down here.
What made you make the big move from New Jersey down to Florida?
Too many drugs.
Yeah,
I had to put that, that life was taking me out, so I had to bury that life. I came down here on my own, and that was it, man.
yeah. I mean, sometimes you just gotta get away, start over.
100. Yeah, new places, new people, new things, man.
I'm hoping it's all working out for you then.
Yeah, I'm far from perfect, man, but don't get it wrong. I mean, it's a lot better than when I was, up in New Jersey ripping and running, man. Everything's going pretty well then. I can't complain, man.
Right. So, Stan, how did you get started in the blue collar industry?
Well, I guess my story's like a lot of other people's. Well, in a way, my father was a Boilermaker. He got out of the Boilermakers because it wasn't paying him enough money. As far as they were laying him off, working a couple months, laid off a couple months. He had 3 kids to feed, so he left there and started running jobs around the country and being project managers of a couple industrial contracting companies. So I was born and raised around welding. I mean, he had a Miller Bobcat in the backyard. So, every morning I'd be hungover from being out partying and I'd hear that thing fire up in the backyard, like, whoa, what is that noise again? A few years later, I finally kind of smartened up a little bit. I was out of high school and he kept trying to tell me to go to college. I didn't want to go to college. Again, that's all I ever seen was him welding and stuff in the backyard. But I still never really got involved in it. I was mechanically inclined. I could do anything with wrenches, take anything apart, build anything. So my father was able to get me into the company that he was with at the time as a mechanic. So I was in there spinning wrenches, and he left that company and started running another company as a project manager. And a couple months later, he was finally able to kind of get me into that door of that company. But again, I had no welding skills whatsoever. So I basically just started out working as the grunt, man. You know what I mean? And again, now my father, he was a welder, and I knew this my whole life, and he was one of the best welders. So now I'm on these jobs, and we're running pipe. We're doing like water lines. I think it was like 6 inch up to 12 inch or something. So he's running a job, and then I'd be doing all the grinding and beveling all the pipe and fitting it up. And so then that just kind of slowly trickled down into on my lunch breaks, I would practice. When you're running pipe, you always have the cutoffs. You always have your ends, and they're already pre-beveled on your ends, your factory bevels. So I would just take all the cutoffs, and sit them up in the pipe jacks and pipe stands, and practice on my lunch breaks. Take the cutoffs home, use that Bobcat my dad had at home, and I'd sit there and put it on 6G, whatever position, man. Practice, until finally my father was able to talk some of the foremans on the job. Let my son weld some pipe. And these guys would complain, we ain't got the time or the money, and he's gonna be wasting all the rods. And my dad, being my father, would be like, just let him do it. Let him do it. If he messes it up, we'll fix it. Let him do it. You know what I mean? Come on, Stan, just let him do it. All right. And sure enough, you know what I mean? I was able to pick it up really quick. Yeah, and then one thing just turned into the next. Once I was able to start getting enough practice and start running some stringers and stuff, and this was just stick welding back then. At the same time I was doing that, I was surrounded by a bunch of Boilermakers and iron workers that my dad had took basically with him, and they looked up to my father, and these guys were the best of the best. So, and I've never been bashful, so anytime I had questions or something, not only would I sit there and watch these guys burn rod, and whenever I had a question, I would just ask them, and they'd be like, listen, this is what it should sound like, this is how you want to start your starts and stops, and this and that. So again, I picked it up very, very fast.
Why don't you tell me about your favorite job that you've ever been on? It might not have been the best job, but it's definitely the best crew.
In this business, it's hard to have the best job. Okay, in my opinion, you're all there burning long hours and stuff because you're just there to make money. There ain't nothing fun about it. Okay. Now I did a job for about 2.5 months out in Grand Junction, Colorado. All right. So again, born and raised in New Jersey. The crew that I worked, the industrial company I worked for out there, my father was able to get a job running pipe. out there. And he went out there and he was able to put a crew together, and and I wasn't even going to go. I was dealing with I had a lot of problems at that time. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to leave my comfort of my girlfriend and all that stuff. And my dad kept telling me, like, son, you'll never regret it. I promise you, it's God's country out there. You'll never regret it. And I pulled the trigger and I went, and I was out there like, I think about 2.5 months in Grand Junction, and it was just me and four other guys my age. So and I worked with these guys every day. So it was like the best crew was us because we worked together so well. You know what I mean? This guy was the best at running pipe. He was the best at fitting it. I was the best at welding it. And it was like, so when they pulled everybody together, well, who wants to go? And it's like, well, if he's running a job, I want Stan. I want Stan to weld, and I want Kenny for this, and it was like, all right, let's do this, And we went out there, and that was just unbelievable, man. The time of the year we were there, it was in the summertime. Every day after work, we would go fish, middle of the Gunnison River, fly fish. It wasn't stressful. The job went pretty well. It was all stainless welding. But yeah, man, that was probably the best. That was probably just, again, like you said, because of the crew. The crew, not only the crew, but being out in Colorado. It was the first time I was ever out west.
I know you said that you've been in Florida for a while now, but when you were younger, did you do a lot of travel in welding, or did you kind of try to stay local around where you were at?
Oh, so yeah, after I started welding, I got really good at it really quick. And then my dad started running jobs out of state. I was in New Hampshire for a couple of weeks, Syracuse, New York, Bradenton, Florida, and this is when I was in Jersey. I mean, I worked all over the East Coast, a lot of Pennsylvania jobs, but we had jobs in Virginia and Maryland, and again, the whole East Coast, man. I went up and down the East Coast, and I was probably young 20s at that time, 23, 24. It was all in the middle of my 20s, man. So now I just turned 40, and the idea of traveling is like, I don't know. I mean, the money's there, but I don't feel it, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely feel you. I think I left the road probably almost 3 years ago now, and I do miss it. I loved traveling.
Absolutely.
I loved hanging out with all the road dogs and
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
doing the job, and had a lot of fun laying pipe. But like at the end of the day, it's pretty nice to come home and see my wife, my kids, and
I think I was dating girls, but I wasn't married. I had no kids. I could go anywhere. But I remember some of the guys I was working with, older guys that were married with kids, and they were fighting with their wives and end up cheating on their wives. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of, you gotta be locked in, and you gotta have a lot of discipline and stuff like that, and be there just for the money. You know what I mean? Some guys go there just to get away, or other guys go there just to get the money to bring it home to their family. So. Yeah, again, a lot of pros and a lot of cons in that. But if you're young, I tell anybody, man, you'll never regret it. Because again, another buddy of mine, he started traveling around, and I told him before he was traveling, I said, you may never ever have a chance to see any of these places ever. You may think you will, but then life starts coming at you and hitting you left and right, and you just don't have a chance. You know what I mean? So if you have the opportunity to go there on per diem and to get paid, why not, man? Do it. You don't like it, you can always quit or go back home, whatever, man.
I heard a great quote the other day, and it said to make all your mistakes while you're young, and how they kind of dug into that a little bit, and they talked about, if you want to be a baker, the best time to do it is 2 years ago. The second best time to do it is right now. If you're going to go bankrupt, you might as well go bankrupt at 20 owning a bakery than 40 owning a bakery.
Amen to that,
Take all the risks now, if it doesn't pan out, you still got the rest of your life ahead of you. It might be stressful for a little bit now, but
I got kids that ask me, man, all the time on Instagram. They DM me and they're like, young kids, 18. I think one was 17 the other day. And he was like, yeah, I was looking to go into this welding school, but then, 2 years from now, I have an opportunity to go to this. So I didn't know if I should do this. And I was like, bro, you got your whole life. Do it. Go to the school, man. You got nothing to lose. Go. You know what I mean? Because now when you're my age, it's such a blessing to look back and be like, man, thank God I did this and this and that. You know what I mean? There's so many other things I could have done, wish I did, but for the most part, man, and that's a lot of why I try to preach on my IG, man, because I had it was pretty rough, man. I always was the one. It was all my own fault growing up. Whenever I got into trouble and anything else, I can't blame it on nobody but myself. You know what I mean? But I always, if there was like a rule or a law, I was the one that had to break it, or just that's just who I was. You know what I mean? So learned a lot of hard lessons that way, and that's why I try to preach to these younger guys, man. If you can just do as I say, or do as I do, I did it. I did it for you. I'm walking proof. You do not want to go through anything that I went through. You know what I mean? So just do what I'm telling you to do. And you could have the skills and everything else. By the time you're 25, you can be welding like me, and you can be doing this and doing that. You don't have to wait until you're 40. And then, now you're, pinching pennies trying to make ends meet and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
They say your younger self is looking up at you, hoping to be where you're at, and your older self is looking down on you, praying that you can get to where he needs to be.
Is that the truth, man?
That one hit pretty hard the other day when I heard that one. That your older self is looking on you, praying that you have what it takes to get where he needs to be. So, yeah, definitely, exactly the way you put it. Definitely puts it in perspective. And you
Yeah.
say not as I did, because if I could go back, I might change something every now and again.
That was like my father's favorite quote to me. You know what I mean? And we'd all be on a job site, and I'd be like, "Well, you did it," and he'd be like, "Son, do as I say, not as I do." Oh, okay, all right. So, and then you get older and you realize 100% what he was talking about. You know what I mean? And now it's funny because every time I say it, I think about him saying it.
You're out there, you're just grinding every day. You wake up just like the rest of us, put your boots on. What motivates you to do that every day, working out in the blue collar trades? It's grueling out there. What motivates you to wake up every morning and keep going?
Again, pros and cons of getting really good at something, especially welding, man. When you're learning welding, there's always tomorrow. You're looking forward to it because once the switch goes off and you enjoy it and you're like, this is what I want to do, then it's every day it's another learning curve, and you're learning and learning and learning. Okay, and that can go on for your whole life. Again, the pros and cons. The cons, I picked it up very fast, which allowed me to get bored of it very fast. Every company I ever went to, okay, first couple months, it's like everybody's like, wow, look at this kid's welds, man. Wow, pats on the back, and then it goes away, dies away. You know what I mean? Nobody cares anymore, okay? And this went on for years. Now, the company I work for now started there. It's been like 7 years now, but the first couple years started there, and it was the same thing. I was laying down these beautiful welds, and then I never welded Inconel. Okay, let me try to master some Inconel. Bam, and then I do all that, and then I stopped caring. Nobody else cared, and I started to stop caring and putting as much effort in my welds. By the blessing, God's blessing, there was a couple of young kids that worked there, 18, 19 years old, real young. They would see my welds and they'd be like, man, your welds are really nice, man. You should just post them on social media. And I'm like, I don't know, man. You know what I mean? It feels like I'm bragging or I'm trying to throw it in someone's face. I'm not that type of person, man. You know what I mean? And this went on for days and days and days. I'd give the kid a ride home. And every day on the ride home, he'd be like, Stan, man, you should be posting. Your welds are some of the best I've ever seen. And then the next day, you're probably the top five, TIG weld I've ever seen. And then the next day, I don't know, man, you might be top three, man. And he's like, just post it. Okay. And then as soon as I started posting, then, maybe after a couple of days of that and people reacting, and I've done it for so long, I forget how hard it was to do. So, I see the younger guys struggling with it, and then they look up to me and they're like, man, I wish I could do that. And it gave me that life again, man. You know what I mean? So that is one of the reasons I post so much, because it's just, that just every day now I go in and it's like, man, I know I can lay down I'll put everything I have into laying down these beautiful welds. And it's not to brag or nothing. It's just so that these guys can see what's possible. I didn't have that. You didn't have that. When we were younger, man, I didn't know what was out there. I didn't know there was all these bad, beautiful, colorful welds and there was all these cool cups. I didn't know any of that. You know what I mean? When I learned with the bare bones stuff, nothing fancy. I learned the hard way with everything, scratch start and all that stuff, man. And then once Instagram started picking up and I saw guys were looking into it, I was like, all right, well then let me get some fancy cups and tweak this around a little bit, and then I'll throw it down the best I can. So I got better tungsten and cups and all that stuff, and then it's game over. You know what I mean? Then it was just slapping down some butter.
I know just by personally looking at your Instagram account, like you're an extremely humble person. Like, yeah, you post some slick welds and beautiful, but like you're not out there showboating. You're not just plastering your face all over your IG account. Like you're very, very savvy about showing what needs to be done. And if I didn't watch your stories, I would have never seen your face.
That's why I started doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that, man, because everybody gets the negative comments and all that stuff, and we all know that it's all people that are just jealous and all that. But again, we're all human. So when you have a lot of followers and you get it nonstop. Okay. Now, if I wake up and I'm having a bad day or something, yeah, I'm human. You know what I mean? It gets to me sometimes. But I think what it is the fact that, again, man, like inside of me, it doesn't want to be friendly and nice. You know what I mean? I got to do that every day. I got to wake up and be like, you know what? Let's try to put positivity out there. Because again, I came from the gutter, man, that I personally put myself in, but I came from it, man, and have to deal with like ignorant people. I've done all that, man, and you know what I mean. And nobody wants to deal with that stuff, especially when you get older, man. So when I try to put so much positivity out there, and then you get these people leaving these comments, that's why sometimes it's like, you just try to, and there's nothing you can do because back in the day that it wasn't like that. You know what I mean? And nobody would come to your door and say that. So times are different, man.
Yeah, there's an old saying where they tell you to leave your feelings at the gate, you know?
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
what people don't realize is there's actually a second part to that. If you're having a problem, you can go back to the gate with the person you're having the problem. So you guys can both pick up your feelings and see who man enough about it.
Yeah, that's it, man.
Yeah, that's kind of died out in the trades, I feel like, with the younger generation. They're really good at running their mouth. They're not really good at backing it up.
No, not at all,
But
man.
you're always going to have those keyboard warriors out there for sure. But like you said, ain't nobody can come say it to your face.
I was born and raised around Boilermakers, iron workers, and when I started welding, I didn't go to school. My dad literally, he was the boss, and he told these guys, it wasn't baby my son. It was you work him to death, and he's either gonna quit and go to college, or he's gonna be the best at what he does. If there's a giant hole and he's got to go down there and weld it, you put him in there and make him weld it. That's what it was, It was tough love, man. Well, and back then, so when you're going through that, all you did was just crack jokes on each other and stuff when you're learning, man. I mean, that's what made the day go by. Okay. I did that my whole life up in New Jersey. It's all industrial, Pennsylvania, and all that. So I came to Florida. I still naturally had that in me. And man, it's a whole different world down here, man. I'm trying to crack jokes on guys at work, and they're like about to cry and stuff. And it was like, whoa, man. I started feeling bad about it. I was like, man, maybe I'm a horrible person inside, man. And so I actually had to like stop doing it to like 99% of the people down here. Like, can't even crack jokes on them. They can't
Yeah.
take the heat, man. So
They got soft hands.
yes, man. Yeah, they want the money, but they don't want to put the time in. You know what I mean? They don't want to earn the money.
Yeah. So you broke out pretty young then, and same as myself. And something that somebody told me when I first started off welding, I was I think when I started pipeline, I was 20 years old, which 1920, so pretty young as far as a rig welder
Uh-huh.
is considered. And something that just kind of blew my mind in the process of breaking out, I had a older gentleman pull me aside pretty much right off the bat, and not necessarily humble me because I hadn't been cocky or nothing yet, but he just wanted to give me some life advice before I stuck my foot in my mouth. And was that the younger welder always gets the offhand side of the pipe. He always gets the bad side of the pipe. He's always the one crawling down in the mud.
Yeah.
He's always the one making the difficult welds. And that just kind of blew my mind as a young welder. I was like, man, I don't know if I can do that. Like, I don't know if I can weld the offhand side of the pipe. I don't know if I can crawl in that mud and make a good weld. Like, I don't know if it's possible for me to do that. And he let me know that that older guy has already done all that. And you're either going to make it doing that offside of that pipe, upside down, standing on your head, or you're out, bud.
That's it, man. There's the gate, brother.
That's it. Yeah.
And man, back then guys were different, man. If you didn't like it and you complained, it was like, go, bye, see you. There wasn't no, okay, well, go take a break or what's going on, guys. It was straight up, man. We don't need that. Get out of here. We'll get the job done without you. Bye.
There's definitely no HR.
Yeah, no, man. No, 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 man. Uh-uh.
Stan, so one thing I like to ask all of our guests here is, do you have any good books that you've read recently that you'd like to recommend for our audience?
This book that you recommended,
Hmm.
I have started this. All right. Ready, Fire, Aim by Michael Matterson. If I said that correct. Now, not only did you tell me about this book, but Chris from Will Brothers. So, and both of you guys are doing pretty good. So, I respect you guys, man. So, if you guys like that book, then I got to finish reading it, and I know it's going to be a good one. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I got another one for you that I just finished the other day. It's called The Hard Things About Hard Things.
wisdom is key, man. You know what I mean? Knowledge is the key to life, brother. It talks about it
Yeah.
in the Bible over and over again, man. Wear wisdom around your neck like a necklace. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's more priceless than silver, gold, all that. You know what I mean? So I tell you another thing. I tell these young guys, man. You can never go wrong. Like if you're debating on going to school for a couple months or something, just go, man. It's just more knowledge that you'll pick up. And then again, when you're older, you can look back. And then I tell these younger guys, if they want to try welding out a little bit. If you don't like it, then you found out they didn't like it. But then when you get older, you could be in real estate or something. Something may come up one day, and you need to weld something in your garage, you can be like, man, I remember 25 years ago or 30 years ago, I did that. And I remember I welded some stuff up. I could probably figure that out on my own. I mean, it's a game changer. You know what I mean? It's just knowledge is everything.
Right, yeah, it's kind of like riding a bicycle. Once you got it, you might take a little bit to pick it back up, but it's
Yeah,
hard to
it's
take it away
there.
from you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's there. You gotta bring it out.
So now looking back, Stan, you're 40 years old. You've had quite a bit of life behind you, and all these younger kids are coming to you for inspiration. They're asking you all these questions. If there was one piece of advice that you would give your younger self, what would it be?
Never quit. I haven't. So I mean, obviously, if I could tell my younger self, I'd be very proud because I've had many a times that I could have threw the towel in, man. Trust me. Whenever you're in the dark, there's always light, and I am living proof, man. If we have more time, I can go into my past and all that, and you'd be like, man, you know what I mean? Unbelievable. So, yeah, man, just never quit, man. Never give up, and just always, always keep your head up, and eyes on the prize, man. Keep your eyes on the right course, the right path.
Wow, that was great. Thanks for hanging out with us, Stan. If you want to go check out more of his stuff, go check him out on Instagram, SS Custom Welding. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you like what you saw, make sure you subscribe. We'll see you next time on the Blue Collar Revolution podcast.